Somewhere in the western Pacific, beneath the clear waters surrounding a small coral island, lies a fortune. It is not gold, nor silver, nor pearls. It is stone. Vast circular discs of crystalline limestone, some larger than a person, rest silently on the seabed. And on the island of Yap, these submerged stones are still considered money. Yap is a cluster of 4 small islands in the Caroline archipelago, today part of the Federated States of Micronesia. Its people have lived for centuries by fishing, farming taro, and weaving the loose fabric of village life. But Yap is famous for one thing above all. It is the home of the largest physical currency ever used by human beings. The Yapese call this currency Rai, or Fei. Each piece is a great disc of stone with a hole carved through its center. The smallest are the size of a dinner plate. The largest stand taller than a person and weigh several tons. For generations, these stones have served as the wealth of families, the dowries of marriages, and the price of peace between villages. But there is a strange and beautiful problem at the heart of this money. The stone itself does not exist on Yap. There is no limestone on the island, no quarry, no native source. To make Rai, the Yapese had to sail hundreds of miles across open ocean to the islands of Palau, where the right kind of crystalline limestone could be found. The journey was extraordinary. Yapese men crossed roughly 250 miles of unpredictable Pacific waters in outrigger canoes lashed together with coconut fiber. They carried tools of shell and, in later centuries, of iron. On reaching Palau, they negotiated with local chiefs for the right to quarry stone. Then they carved the discs by hand, shaping each one to a near-perfect circle. The work was slow and dangerous. Quarrymen chipped away at limestone cliffs and cave walls with primitive tools, sometimes for months at a time. Men died from falling rocks, from sickness, from accidents far from home. The larger a finished stone, the greater the labor and the greater the risk. And so the value of a Rai was bound, from the very beginning, to the suffering it had taken to make it. When the stones were finished, the truly perilous task began. Each disc had to be loaded onto bamboo rafts towed behind canoes, then hauled across hundreds of miles of open sea. The journey home could take weeks. Storms swept the Pacific without warning, and somewhere along these ancient sea routes many stones never arrived. Here, the story of Yap's currency turns into something almost mythic. When a great stone was lost at sea, the loss did not erase its value. The voyagers returned home and described what had happened. The community accepted their account. The stone, though sunk in the depths, remained a recognized piece of wealth, owned by the family that had commissioned it. This is the heart of the mystery. A Rai resting on the ocean floor, unseen and unreachable, could still be spent. Its ownership could pass from one family to another in payment of debts, in marriages, in compensations. Nobody needed to retrieve it. Nobody needed to see it. The memory of the stone, held in common, was enough. The American economist Milton Friedman would later write about Yap stones with fascination. He saw in them a perfect illustration of what money truly is. Money, he argued, is not the object itself. It is a shared agreement, a collective faith, a story a community tells itself about value. The stones of Yap simply made that fact more visible than coins or banknotes ever could. On the island, the stones did not circulate the way coins do. They were too heavy to move easily. Instead, most Rai remained where they had first been placed, leaning against the walls of village paths or standing in stone money banks beside community meeting houses. When ownership changed, the stone stayed put. Only the knowledge of who owned it moved. The value of any given stone depended on more than size. It depended on its history, who had carved it, who had sailed with it, whether anyone had died in its making, whether it had crossed the sea on a famous voyage. A small stone with a dramatic past could outweigh a larger, ordinary one. Each Rai carried a story, and the story was part of the price. In the late 19th century, the outside world arrived. An Irish-American adventurer named David O'Keefe was shipwrecked on Yap around 1871. He survived, befriended the islanders, and saw a commercial opportunity in their hunger for copra, the dried coconut flesh prized in Western markets. To pay Yapese laborers, O'Keefe did something audacious. He gave them what they truly wanted. O'Keefe sailed to Palau with iron tools and a Western ship. With these advantages, his crews quarried and transporting stones far larger than anything the Yapese could produce by traditional means. He flooded the island with new Rai. For a time he grew rich, But the Yapese were not fools. They could see that his stones had come too easily. The community made a quiet, collective decision. Stones cut with iron tools and carried by foreign ships were judged less valuable than those produced through the old, dangerous voyages. The labor, the suffering, the risk, these were what gave a riot's worth. O'Keeffe's mass-produced discs were accepted, but at a discount. The market, in its way, defended itself. The 20th century brought harsher disruptions. Germany acquired the Caroline Islands in 1899 and used the stones as instruments of colonial control, marking them with black paint to enforce labor on island roads. Then came Japanese administration after the First World War. Then came the devastation of the Second World War. Many stones were broken, hauled away, or used as anchors and ballast. Yet the system survived. After the war, under American trusteeship and later, as part of an independent Micronesia, the Yapese continued to use rye for traditional exchanges. Land transactions, marriage payments, apologies between clans, these still called for stone money. Modern dollars handled the daily business of life. But for matters of deep cultural weight, only rye would do. Today, several thousand stones remain on Yap, scattered along village paths and standing in the open air. Each has a known owner, a known history, a known place in the social fabric. Children grow up learning which stones belong to which families. The discs, weathered and lichen-stained, are not relics of a vanished economy. They are still, in their quiet way, in use. And somewhere beneath the Pacific, the lost stones still rest. Sunk in storms centuries ago, never seen by living eyes, they continue to circulate through Yapese society as accepted wealth. They are perhaps the purest currency ever devised, money so abstract that its physical presence has become entirely optional. They exist only because a community agrees that they do. In an age of digital wallets and cryptocurrencies, the stones of Yap feel suddenly familiar. A token whose value lives in a shared ledger of memory, a wealth measured not in metal but in agreement. The Yapese understood, long before economists gave it a name, that all money is a story we tell each other. And on a small island in the Pacific, that story is still being told, in stone, above the water and beneath it.